This episode is brought to you by Salmon Wars, the podcast where we dive deep into the challenges facing the iconic salmon of the Pacific Northwest. I'm your host, Cody McLaughlin, a passionate salmon fisherman in the last frontier of Alaska. Join me as I interview a wide range of experts, including biologists, commercial and recreational fishermen, advocates, native people, politicians, and other stakeholders. Together, we'll explore the driving forces behind the dramatic decline in salmon returns and seek solutions to save these vital fish populations before it's too late. This limited-run investigative series will take you on a journey through the complex world of salmon conservation and management. Subscribe now to join the fight to protect our salmon and preserve the rich ecosystems they support. Together, we can make a difference in the future of these magnificent fish. Welcome to Salmon Wars.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Welcome to the Sportswoman Show. I'm your host, Gabby Hoffman. From gator hunting in the swamps of Florida to fly fishing in the cold water streams of the Mountain West, join us as we explore real human stories of women, from influencers to scientists to policymakers who are spending their lives in the outdoors. Let's begin. Julie, welcome to the Sportswoman Show. It's so good to catch up after all these years.
I know. It's so good to catch up with you. We need to stay in touch more often
We
instead
do.
of just trade show season.
Exactly. No, we were talking about doing some policy stuff. Now we actually have to follow through with that. So we will make sure to stay in touch after this episode comes out. Absolutely. But people know you. You're a longtime industry fixture in the hunting industry. But for those who are listening who don't know you, why don't you share your story and how you got interested in hunting?
Oh my gosh, I've been in this industry a long time. I think I'm going on almost 15, 18 years, something like that. Um, I really kind of got started on the back end of the business as a producer. So I was, filming TV shows and commercials and, really kind of working behind the scenes for a long time and then, hosted a series of different TV shows on different networks over the years. And now, fast forward, after all of that experience, I came into the role at Carbon TV. I think back in 2018, I took over the company and now I'm the CEO. I actually am the majority owner of Carbon TV now, which is super exciting. And yeah, it's just been such an awesome journey over the years. And when you're that many years in one industry, you just form these great long-term friendships and relationships. And, it's really kind of blossomed into this massive part of my life. Probably one of the biggest parts of my life is, this business and all of the people involved in it. So I guess most people probably know me from the TV side, just hosting all the shows and producing a lot of shows. And now, my identity really kind of revolves around Carbon TV at this point.
And Carbon TV has done something I think other channels or other entities, even outside of the hunting industry, the pivot to digital. That was a really smart move. And I know some people still have analog TV. I mean, I still have cable, but I also watch digital stuff too, consume things through social media. But Carbon TV was really ahead of the curve, really pivoting to digital, anticipating that that's where TV is going to move to. Why is that so important for the industry to recognize, you think?
Yeah, we've been in business for 10 years now, which is like a dinosaur in the digital age, especially in the outdoor space. We were definitely the first ones in that game. And, I credit that to our original founder, David Farbman, who really kind of saw the future when it came to distribution of outdoor video content. And as the digital era started happening in other industries, Carbon TV was formed and was part of another media conglomerate, Carbon Media Group at the time. And then back in 17, there was an acquisition. They pulled Carbon TV out of that acquisition at that time, and I took over the company. And, before I even started working here in this role, I was airing my content on Carbon TV as a producer. Some people might not know that, but I moved from airing on the networks on a linear distribution to digital back before a lot of people really saw that that was going to happen. So it really kind of gave me this deep belief that this is the future. And I still agree that some people watch linear TV and still, have cable television. But for the most part, I think most people stream most of their content. So, thank goodness we were very much ahead of the game. And as the years have gone by, we've been able to really pivot and move and build teams, put people in place to stay ahead of everybody else in this realm. So, currently we're the largest as far as digital distribution for video content in the outdoor space. But it's a constant, watchful game of, what's going to happen next and how do we, continue that trend of staying ahead. So it's I can say at this point, it's a really fun business to run. It's exciting. And I know that we provide just a great service. It's a free service. It's something that anyone can watch anywhere, as long as they have a connected device. And yeah, so it's been fascinating over the years to really see that evolution of where the company is going.
But your connection to hunting didn't start with just working on TV. I would love you to, Julie, to dive a little deeper and share with the viewers, if you will, what led you to get an interest in hunting in general? Because there had to be some impetus, maybe some moment in time in your trajectory as an American woman, and you're like, I decided to do hunting. Was it a family
Mhm.
member, father, social circles? What's your hunting story? I would love to hear it.
Actually, no, I'm not from a family that hunted when I was growing up. I kind of got into it on my own as I, was around 18-ish years old, somewhere around there. I went to my hunter safety course by myself, and I remember getting my first hunting license, and it was in Missouri. And really just went out on my own. And back then, we didn't have access to social media and, YouTube and all of the things that we have, the tools that we have now to really kind of help people learn. So a lot of what I did was just learning by making mistakes. And that's a good way to learn, right? I mean, I learned really quickly, how to do different things, and I would, have to call people, for advice or help. And I got into the industry as fast as I could. As soon as I started hunting, I knew that this was something that was deeply ingrained in me and what I wanted to do. So I started working as promotional staff for some of the companies in the industry back before really any other women were doing that. And, that led me to building relationships and then, eventually learning how to run camera. So I just kind of kicked it off as, a young girl who felt passionate about this thing that not a lot of other women were doing and just kind of went for it. And from there I just thought, well, how do I build a career around this? How do I find a way to spend as much time outside as I can and also, create a living for myself. So, yeah, over the years, I just kind of evolved into, how do I continue building careers in this industry? Uh, and I look back at where I started from and I'm happy that it went that way. It was really a wonderful journey for me to kind of, m- insert myself into something that I didn't know very much about and now, all of these years later, my dad does hunt and my mom hunts. And, so I can connect with them on that at this point in my life. But yeah, growing up, I didn't have that. It wasn't something that was offered to me. Nobody ever thought, oh, I wonder if she would like to go hunting. I was a little girl, so nobody really thought about that in my family. And I think that's why I'm so passionate now about foundations, organizations, groups that are getting kids involved and offering them those opportunities at a young age, because I wish that that had been presented to me. So it's something that really, is in my heart, that I want other young kids to kind of have that presented to them so they have the option.
I'm the same way. I wasn't totally removed from the outdoors. I started fishing
Mhm.
because California, I think just the culture of hunting wasn't really widely accepted. I grew up below Los Angeles, above San Diego, kind of in that Orange County region. And I don't remember anyone hunting. I remember people fishing, but hunting wasn't really talked about. So for me, the
Right.
reason kind of maybe similar to you why I got it, I got into hunting by the time I was 26, so a little later than you, but I was already kind of yoked into it with fishing and shooting sports. But because it just wasn't available. It wasn't because I hated it. I love strange cuts of meat being from having family members from Eastern Europe. My parents are from the Baltic states. And so
Oh,
we
yeah.
love these strange cuts of meat. So I was like, I need to make that connection because I love eating interesting kind of meat, but I don't know how to make that connection. So for me, it was very similar to you. I was very curious. I wanted to learn. I went through hunter's education. I had mentors, and now I do the trifecta of hunting, shooting sports, and fishing. So I think those of us who came to it, not by baptism by fire or not through the family, I think we have a deeper appreciation because we know what's at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree, and it just creates a great story and a deep connection to it when it's something that we chose, a little bit later in life.
When you were starting kind of your do-it-yourself hunting experience, what was the first species you were targeting? Was that first hunt memorable or was it interesting? How do you remember your first hunting experience or recall that?
I actually had to borrow a rifle to use because I didn't have one at the time. And I asked for permission on some property and they said, "Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's this beautiful big piece of property. You can shoot whatever deer comes in front of you." I had a deer tag for the first time ever. And so I went out and I remember parking, my vehicle and walking down this ridge where they had told me, if you just follow this ridge and then find somewhere to sit. And, I didn't know that tree stands were a thing, so I just found 2 trees that were about shoulder width apart and wedged myself between them and snuggled in and, laid the rifle down on my lap in front of me and just sat there and I watched the world wake up and here comes a deer walking, down below me, probably 80 yards in front of me down this ridge. And just by good luck, the wind was right. I didn't know that was something I was supposed to be watching. I didn't know all of the details or how to even be successful. I was just kind of out there sitting. And yeah, this deer comes walking by and when he got within range just below me, I lifted up the rifle and I, took off the safety and I shot him. And it was the first time I had ever seen an animal die. And it was my first time ever pulling the trigger on something. So it was very emotional. It was, just such a moment for me where I kind of felt this mixture of emotions of remorse, but also excitement at the same time. And then it's like, well, now what do I do? I didn't know what to do next or what the next steps were. And, I know I've told this story a few times over the years where it's like, the way I was learning about hunting was going to the bookstore and reading books and magazines. And nothing in those magazines at the time were telling me those details that could have been very helpful. One of the things I didn't know is how big a whitetail was in person, and I'd never been up close to one. And so I was assuming that I could just walk down there and pick this thing up, and like put it in my vehicle. But I mean, that's just not how it is. They're super heavy, especially when you're a young, girl. And yeah, so there were just so many moments during that first hunt where um, I'm out there alone and this beautiful, amazing, and tragic, thing happens. And I can still remember how emotional that was for me. And then also the connection to it. It was like, okay, now that I've experienced this and I've done this thing, I want more of it. I want to know more. I want to do more. And, how do I become even more involved? Um, yeah, so it was super memorable. To this day, I think it's still the oldest whitetail that I've ever shot. He was super old and just this beautiful big buck and, just such a moment in my life that, if I could go back in time and get back into myself during that moment, it'd be incredible to know the journey that lies ahead. Like, okay, this is the beginning of something that's gonna consume you for the next, 20, 30, 40 years of your life. Or this is the beginning of it. So yeah, I still remember that the very first time and, how special that was. And, I know everybody's first animal is typically very close to their heart. And, that for me was definitely a turning point in my life.
I would say for me, it was a rooster pheasant here in Virginia,
Oh,
a pen
wow.
raised bird, understandably, because we're not like South Dakota or some of the Midwestern states where they have sufficient, excellent habitat for it. So we have to recreate it, of course, on this side of the country on the east. but for me, there was and I think for everyone listening who's had their first hunt and it's left an indelible impression on them. For me, you're right. The first hunt really does, and I got confidence, harvesting that rooster pheasant and then a couple quail and a chucker. And there was an even greater, I would say, context and importance to it because I was hunting with veterans. It was actually a client
Oh,
contract job, and they had
wow.
enlisted me to take photos and do videography work. And they're like, as an added bonus, and in addition to your payment, we're going to give you a guided hunt because you haven't hunted yet, and we know you're interested. You got your license, all that type of stuff. And so for me, it was extra special because I was hunting with people who served this country honorably. It was maybe an hour and a half from my house. It was in my adopted state, like Virginia. And for me, like all that coming together, and I remember the weather too. Like you remember the weather, you remember the conditions, you remember the people you hunt with and the dogs that work so hard to flush the bird and just like how exciting and interesting it is and how, like you said, taking a life is not a light matter. It
Right.
really
Yeah.
cuts to the core. Like you feel kind of bad at one point. You're like, I just took this beautiful animal's life. Oh my gosh. But even amongst that, conflicted feeling, you're like, I'm going to actually make use of all parts of it. Like it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to cook it. I'm going to cherish it however long I can cherish it in the dietary manner. Maybe keep the feathers to create like fly ties, all that type of stuff. Do some fly
Yeah.
tying. So the bird didn't go to waste whatsoever. And I think the same could be with deer, any type of species. So your first
Mhm.
animal really, I think, is the glue through which you can stay interested in hunting. And that's kind of how it was hooking for me into hunting. And I know your beautiful story is incredible too. I've just loved hearing that when you were recounting that just now for us. But you've traveled a lot probably since that first hunt. You've done a lot of hunting trips. Is there any trip recently or since you've had that first hunt that really leaves a good impression or something as memorable, that is unlike any other? Have you hunted abroad, and is it different than the United States, or you're like American hunting, North American hunting is the best, nothing abroad
Yeah.
can challenge that?
Right, right. Yeah, I've been so blessed over the years. Fortunately, I've been able to hunt, so many different places and with so many incredible people. And I have hunted, like I've done South Africa a couple times and Mexico, for mule deer, and I've traveled outside of the U.S., for hunting, and it's always amazing and beautiful and very special. But as I get older, when people ask, what hunts of all of these incredible things that you've done, what really stands out? I think as I get older, it's when I go hunting with people I love, and it's that experience that really solidifies it for me. It's being in the field with people who you truly love in this lifetime. And, so I always think about some of the hunts I've done with Jana Waller, my best friend, over the years. And most people in this industry, I think everyone in this industry knows Jana. And, she's just so special to me. We're best friends and, we have parallel, professions. And, we've worked together over the years in so many ways. And every time I go hunt with her, it is extra special. And, thank goodness it's typically documented because one of us is always filming for something, while we're out in the field. So we have all of this amazing, footage and these great photos. And, we can go back and relive a lot of those times when we've been in the field together. And, even I went hunting with my dad this past year for the first time. And well, it's been 20 years, I guess. We never hunt together, and he lives in Oklahoma and has a beautiful place there. And so I traveled to Oklahoma and I hunted my home state with my dad. And that was really special. It was just every single moment of that was really close to my heart because it was with somebody I love. And, even if you're not successful, on the hunt or you don't tag out or whatever, it's just building those memories and, kind of filling up your memory bank of all of the details of being in the field with somebody who, is really close to your heart. And, of all of the hunts that I've been able to do around the world and all the different species and everything that I've been able to accomplish in the field, um, you know, I think at this point in my life, it's just more about the entire situation instead of just filling a tag. It's more, everything about being there and being in the moment and really truly enjoying it. I think that I'm getting a little more sentimental about those things as I age, and I like it. It makes me want to um, focus in on that as I move forward of building memories with people who mean a lot to me. Um, but yeah, I've been very blessed over the years. I've been able to go do so many fun things, so many amazing trips, and so many incredible adventures. And I can't believe I got this lucky in life. Sometimes, it's like, how did I get to do this in this world? It's just incredible to me.
You were really lucky, and I share the same admiration for Jana like you, and when I think of upstanding role models in hunting, I think of you, Jana, Christy Titus, Melissa Bachman. There are a lot of women who a lot of us younger gals can look up to, and even those coming up behind, folks like me, women like me, we have great role models like you all to look up to. How important is that to have good upstanding role models in hunting? Because we've had this long-standing debate in the industry, what's the good image, what's a bad image, but how important is it for women who have platforms like yourselves to convey a positive hunting image, and represent kind of an image that's realistic to women so that they can feel comfortable hunting, that they don't feel shame to do hunting, or that they can look good all the while still going hunting too? Because we've had this. It's so stupid that it's a crazy thing where you're perceived to be tomboyish if you like to do things and get your hands dirty. And then we have to remind these people, it's like we still dress up, we can put makeup, we have multiple dimensions. So how can women overcome those challenges or perceptions all the while still live authentically as hunters, outdoors women? I'd love your take on that.
Yeah, and every one of those girls that you named are friends of mine. And I'm so proud of that. We've really kind of grown up together in this business over the years. And, Titus is a dear friend of mine and Bachman too, and so many of the other ones. And, I think that early on in our careers in this business, we all recognized that we were so similar and that we had the same interests and that there's space for all of us, that it's not a competition. It's not, oh, I have to, do more than her or be better than her. We've really managed to lift each other up over the years. And I think that's a really important kind of behind the scenes story to tell is, some people from the outside looking in would see, all of us on social media or they follow us or watch our shows over the years. And, they probably are curious about, what is it really like to be, um, in that group of women who, have a solid foundation in this business. And I can honestly say that those girls and so many of the other ones are just amazing. Not only super talented and successful and really brilliant, but just good-hearted people. And when we see opportunities, I can't tell you how many times over the years, some opportunity will come in to me or to one of them. And if it's not a good fit for me, we recommend one of those girls and we say, oh, Titus would be amazing for this, or Jana could fill that role for you, or Bachman is, just incredible. You should definitely call her. And every single one of them have done that for me, and I've done it for them. We help each other up, and we know that, all ships rise with the tide. And the more successful that my girlfriends are in this industry, the better it is for all of us. And we want to see that success, and we want them to have all of the success in the world. And I think that when you surround yourself with the right people and with good people who have good intentions, it just naturally causes this positive thing throughout the rest of the industry. It's this energy that of positivity, and it shines through on social media and through their TV shows, and even in the work that I do, where we want the younger generation of women, or even young men or kids coming into
Yep.
the business. We want them to have that solid foundation of good people around them. So, most of us, I would say all of us girls are, highly involved in different, um, you know, board of directors and different foundations and different organizations that we help out with. And we volunteer our time, and we really try to get in there and make sure that we are doing something good for the future generations. Um, I know that one of these days, one of these young people is going to come take my job, and I hope so. And I want them to have the resources, and I want them to have the knowledge and the experience to be able to do that correctly, and to come in here and have a good support system around them. And I know that the other women who are very well known in this industry are like minded, and that's the reason why they're still here. They're I believe that um, people who stay a long time in this industry, there's a reason for it. And it's because of the authenticity. It's because they're really here for the right reasons. It's not just a flash in the pan and looking for attention. Um, so that's the people I surround myself with over the years. And when a person reaches out to me, which happens a lot, like through social media, a young girl wanting to find work in the industry, um, I give them my personal cell phone number. I consult with them. I will volunteer my time to help make connections, and I think that that's really crucial to the forward momentum of the community as a whole. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's really nice to to know that the other women who got into this business around the same time as me kind of all we all set the same goals. And it was, I want to be successful, obviously, and I want to create a life for myself doing this, but it's also crucial that we bring others up with us. So, yeah, I think that's a an important piece of backstory on a lot of the myself and the other women who have, been successful in this business, is that, it really stems from good intentions for the community.
That's so wonderful to do, and I've had, even though I'm a little younger than you gals, I've tried to do that even in my career, which is not as long as you all, but I've been around for a while and I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And I've even helped, different of all stages in the outdoor industry to, if I saw some position that needed to be filled, I was like, okay, I got to put this person here, recommend them here. Or help, kind of upstart young people. Recently, some friends of mine from Florida were like, Gabriella, can we have this young cattleman's daughter who does a lot in conservation? Can we have her apply for the scholarship? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then they accept our organization, Professional Outdoor Media Association, accepted her. So like little gestures like that. And actually I was able to recommend Jana to be an alternate for the Department of Interior Hunting and Shooting Sports
Oh, yeah.
board. So that was
Yeah.
fun to I was like,
Mhm.
she's got to be there, if not her, someone else. So it's like we always have to look out for each other, whether it's people who are just starting in the industry or even established folks who just may not have the connection to people in government or these other entities to be like, plug this person here. You don't lose anything from helping someone. Likely they're
Right.
going to reciprocate with you. So I think that's
Yeah.
what women have to understand in the industry. And speaking of women in the industry, I think some people maybe come into the hunting industry or outdoor industry thinking, okay, I'm going to be the next TikTok influencer, social media influencer. And they kind of ignore that there are lots of opportunities in front of the camera, behind the camera that are fulfilling. What is your advice to women who want to do similar work to you? Maybe be in front of the camera, maybe be behind the camera, maybe aspects of both. What is a good way to have longevity in the industry, and should they develop a skill set? Because I think having a versatile skill set is extremely important. I learned how to do video. I learned how to do editing, not just simply talk and be a talking head. You have to have a multitude of skills. So what is the best path for women who are upstarts in the industry?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that having, different skill sets is really important, and sometimes you can't always develop those skill sets without some form of mentorship or connections. And, people can say what they want about social media, but it has been incredible for people to be able to get in touch with others and to make those connections. So, I would advise, any person who's just wanting to move into the industry to reach out and be friendly and say, "Hey, I'm so and so, this is my goal, these are the things I'm wanting to do. Can you help me, or do you have advice for me, or do you know other people or organizations I can get involved with who would be able to help me on that path?" Um, that actually happens really often at this point. A lot of people reach out wanting to know, how do I even get started? What do I do? And, there are so many amazing opportunities. There are different, camps and classes and, different ways for people to really gain that knowledge side by side with other like minded people. And, I encourage people to just get involved as much as they can in the community in some way. And that path may lead to a different one that you're even more interested in. And I know Bachman is the same as me when it comes to, we started behind the camera. And it eventually evolved into, having TV shows and being in front of the camera. But I think that it's crucial to have the skill set of knowing how the camera runs, understanding production. I specialized in line production, field production, and executive production before I really ever made a name for myself in front of the camera. And that helped me to connect with the people who were doing the actual work, the editors and the producers and, at this point, my entire team. So the more knowledge that you can gain through just kind of investing your time or volunteering. I volunteered as a cameraman for a long time. Didn't get paid for it. I would just show up and try to learn as much as I could. And, I can't stress enough how valuable that is just to have that knowledge and the people that you'll meet along the way. But, some people who think, oh, I really want to have a TV show. I encourage them to understand all of the moving parts around the actual TV show. Try to understand the equipment and the community and what are the needs? What is your purpose? Why do you want the show? Who are you trying to reach? Who's your audience? And, really kind of taking a deep dive into what are your intentions around having that goal and how do you kind of immerse yourself into the entire community around it. The people I know who have been most successful, um, have kind of taken that route where then they're all in. And they're like, okay, now I know why I want to do this, and I have a support group around me of other people who also want to do this, and then you know, it all just kind of starts happening for them. But I do think that it's important to have, different skill sets and to really have that knowledge instead of just taking your phone and, trying to become the next TikTok star, which I mean, that does happen too, and I think that's great. I think that, um, if that's somebody's goal and they want to be an influencer on social media, then awesome. I think it's wonderful. They're probably encouraging some other people to get involved in the outdoors, and I think that's a win. So, yeah, I think everyone's going to have a little bit different path and different strategy on how to reach their goals. But I think that we live in a world where it's just so easy and most of the time free to get that knowledge. You can learn a lot just by joining different Facebook groups or joining different communities who have like-minded people involved.
You've shared a lot of invaluable information, Julie, and I want to make sure that everyone listening is able to connect with you or follow your work at Carbon TV. Where would you like to send listeners to so they can stay in touch with you, see what you're up to?
Yeah, so my social media is I'm usually Jules McQueen on everything. So Instagram, Facebook, you can find me under Jules McLean. And, for people who, are interested in Carbon TV, it's super easy to find. Social media, Carbon TV. And, anyone who has a connected device, we're there. So it's free. You don't have to have a subscription. You don't pay anything. We have over 300 TV shows on the network at this point, and also a bunch of documentaries and short films and live cameras. And we offer podcast distribution now as well. So everyone who wants to kind of consume content around the outdoors. And this is not just hunting and fishing content. We expanded a few years ago into everything that happens outside. So agriculture, survival, overland, aviation, all of the categories. It's all on Carbon TV. And, I think it's really nice to be able to offer that because a lot of our viewership, maybe they don't want to watch a hunting show or they don't think they want to. So they'll come here to watch other types of content and then they, end up, falling in love with some of the other theories on carbon. So Carbon TV is super easy to find and, just a wonderful company. And the creators that we have here, the people creating the TV shows are super talented and uh, there's just something for everyone at Carbon TV. So I would encourage people to definitely check it out and see what shows they like best.
That's amazing. You've also branched out into those outdoor adjacent niches too, because that's extremely important. There's
Mhm.
a lot of overlap. And I hope
Yeah.
everyone does check out Carbon TV. I'm so behind. I haven't been able to watch either Jana or Christy's programming, but I know they're housed there. You
Yep.
do a lot of updates there as well. I don't know if you still have your policy show, but I believe you still do. So I'm
I
going to do my
do.
best.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm going to do my best to try to catch up on content. But Julie, it has been so wonderful catching up with you. I appreciate you coming onto the podcast, sharing your story, and I hope the listeners, especially the ladies, took away a lot of invaluable information and advice if they want to try to a that they wanted sorry, hold on. We'll have Cody edit this. I know the women listening will be confident in more perhaps poised listening to your sage advice on how to navigate the outdoor industry. So thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. It's so nice to catch up with you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Sportswoman Show. Your support is so crucial. Take a moment right now if you can and help us out by hitting the subscribe button on your podcatcher of choice, leaving a review, sharing with your friends, and engaging with us on social media. We also need guest ideas. If you have a suggestion on a strong outdoor woman we need to talk to, shoot our producer an email at cody@troutstreamstudios.com.